It's Friday, the 26th of July. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel, and it's the critical second 24-hour period for the Park Fire, the largest fire in California at this time, which has exploded now to 164,000 acres and continuing to grow. Today will be the battle for Highway 32 here on the right flank of the fire. This will be a critical area of concern as the fire continues to push here on the right flank and up here at the head of the fire. Overall conditions today are for a general cooling trend here in Northern California, but a continued fairly stout wind out of the south pushing the fire towards the north and a little bit to the east. First, let's go look where it blew out the head of the fire here past the Mill Creek drainage. So each of these lines on the map represent different times of mapping of this fire. And let's go to this OES, Office of Emergency Services aircraft video showing exactly this blowout. Now this is actually good. It's not great news, but it's okay news. This is the Ishi Wilderness area that needs to burn. It needs to burn every 10 to 15 years. It's mostly grassland up in this area, with virtually no population in this area.
OES Intel 127-25-2024, 1841 hours, the Park incident. State responsibility and federal responsibility in the Butte unit. Mapped out at 124,951 acres. We're looking into the Mill Creek drainage. And go to...
So there's Mill Creek. This was about 6 o'clock last night when they were still calling it 124,000 acres. So that evening, this is where the fire made it over the north side of Mill Creek, located right down here, the head of the fire.
IR, you can see across the drainage is making a run, and it's all the way up on the plateau. Go to Swear, you can see the bit of terrain that it's in. And go back to EO. You can see the burning conditions. End of recording.
Here on the GOES satellite loop, you can see the Park Fire burning here. You can see the activity at the head of the fire that we just looked at from the IR ship. But here's the area of concern along the right flank of the fire with the active fire burning on the upper right flank portion of the fire. So much of the air attack working up near the Cohasset area last night has, well, they've had to fall back to Highway 32 now. Highway 32 is a natural ridgetop fire break that's going to make their next best stand to stop this fire from moving for continuing to the east, stop its eastward momentum. And now it looks like the fire is right up to the Forest Ranch area. So the fire has worked its way from the Cohasset area down this drainage, up this ridge, and down this drainage, which is Big Chico Creek, and pushed pretty hard up this slope to Highway 32. And here's Forest Ranch located right here. And if we pop down and take a look at that area, you can see we're right back in the tall timber, and this looks just like right around here in the Grass Valley, Nevada City area. This is area that has not burned in the last 10 or 15 years, or even much longer, and has too much fuel load in it at this time. And here's the problem with fighting wildfires in this wild urban interland interface here with all of our homes built in the forest is these propane tanks. Now, that was widely reported in the news as a whole house. No, that's not a whole house blowing up. These are individual propane tanks, usually 250 gallons each, blowing up. And this causes a great hazard to firefighters, and if it gets too dangerous like this, firefighters can only do one thing, and that's retreat. They can no longer perform structure protection under these sort of dangerous conditions. So heed your evacuation warnings and get out early, because nobody's going to be able to come to help you if you delay too long. And make sure there's plenty of fuel in your fuel tanks of your cars. Sheriff Honey reported at least 3 instances in the Cohasset area where folks were completely out of fuel and could not evacuate. And if the firefighters lose the battle with Highway 32 here, then the fire's got the opportunity to work its way down into the next drainage, which is Butte Creek, And if it gets into this drainage, which has got plenty of fuel in it, then it's going to continue to threaten even more population areas like Magalia and Paradise Pines. Now here's the town of Paradise that burnt down in the campfire years ago, just a few years ago, but the edge of this campfire left a lot of unburned fuel here in Paradise. Right along the edge of Paradise, here's the edge of the campfire. So there's loads of fuel loading here in Magalia and Nimshu area that looks something like this. Now if we drop down just back further south to where the campfire burned through Paradise and take a look at what it looks like currently around there, a lot of that fuel has been consumed by the campfire. Now there's still plenty of some timber left, but much less fuel to burn here in the Paradise area. So right now, as of 9:30 in the morning, here Friday, these areas in red are evacuated areas. These areas in yellow are level 2, get set, ready to evacuate. I would have left already. Even if I was over in this area here, I got a hold of my old friend Gary. He's in this area of Magalia, and he has already packed up his dogs, his birds, and his cash and has left town and headed down to Chico. And by the way, Chico looks to be in good shape. This left lower flank of the fire is in good shape in this lighter grassland here, so there's no threat of the fire continuing on in towards Chico. Take a quick look at Windy. At the current time here, the winds are coming in through the Bay Area and pushing up to the north here in the valley areas. Looks like 10 to 12 knots or so, and that'll probably be the case throughout the day. Ooh, more wind, but that's deeper in the valley. And by the time this wind gets down into these drainages, it's going to push that fire right up the drainages. Here's the Flea Mountain loop looking to the west and a little bit to the north, showing the left to right flow of the smoke as the fire heads up the drainage. Early in the morning, with cooler weather, it'll be interesting to see how tall this column gets today. As far as the air show goes this early in the morning, looks like Air Attack 210, the OV-10 out of Chico, is sizing up the situation here on Highway 32, and the air attack officer is coming up with a plan to try to defend this Highway 32 and back it up with aerial retardant. And here comes our S2s already heading to work at 9:30 in the morning. And this is one thing I'm very concerned with our pilots, is the fatigue. This fire season started off with a bang. We had that nice wet spring, cool wet spring, but as soon as these guys showed up on station in June, bam, they were put to work and have been flying a lot of hours up to this point, and it's still just the very end of July, and we've got months to go. I'm very concerned about the fatigue level of the pilots, especially the pilots of the single pilot aircraft, getting too tired. If you guys need a break, just take the break. Don't let the pressure of the mission push you to keep going. Take a break. And to that end, the MAFs, I understand, have been activated, and we may see them on the park fire soon. This is the Modular Airborne Firefighting Aircraft of the Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve units that have the modular retardant system. They can roll into the tanks, into the aircraft, the C-130s, and help support our contract firefighters. Though this modular system is not quite as effective as the fixed tanks on our contract aircraft, they could definitely use some support and help relieve the strain of the mission. Regarding the cause of the fire, as we talked about on the first update on this fire, here's Sheriff Corey Honey introducing the Butte County District Attorney, explaining the situation with what started the fire.
It is maddening that we're here again. And it is particularly maddening that this particular fire was caused by an individual. For that, I'm going to turn this over to our District Attorney, Mike Ramsey, who can give you some information about the individual responsible for this and what actions he's taking to hold him accountable. Mr. Ramsey?
I've sped this up 1.5 times.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Mike Ramsey, Butte County District Attorney. And as the sheriff has indicated, we all in Butte County are very sorry to be in this position again. I myself in the Thompson fire was evacuated from East Orville, so this is something that is very personal then, and my family was evacuated in the Camp Fire. 42-year-old Chico man, Ronnie Stout, was arrested at 2 a.m. last night by CAL FIRE, arson investigators, and district attorney investigators who surrounded his mobile home in a mobile home park here in Chico and demanded by loudspeakers that he come out with his hands up. He did, and he was arrested at that time under an arrest warrant that my office had sought from a local judge, and it was what we call a no bail arrest warrant. That no bail means he is in Butte County Jail right now with no possibility of bail until such time as he is arraigned on Monday afternoon, undoubtedly on a count of arson. What that count of arson will be and what enhancements to that is yet to be determined. We hope it will not be an enhancement of great bodily injury or death, but it is still early in this fire to make that determination. Basically, the evidence that led us to Mr. Stout was a witness in the upper Bidwell Park near Alligator Hole, saw what was later to be identified as Mr. Stout was by a vehicle, turned out to be his mother's vehicle. That witness saw a fire begin under the front left of Mr. Stout's vehicle and felt that his activity was somewhat strange and that he was doing nothing other than watching the fire. Then she saw him get into the vehicle, do something in the vehicle, get out of the vehicle, and then push the flaming vehicle down the embankment, some 60-foot embankment down into a gully where the fire, the beginnings of the park fire, flared up. And we are here today because of that. Mr. Stout has a prior record. He has what we call 2 prior strikes. Those strikes, one in Butte County in 2001, a conviction of lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14, and another in 2002 in Kern County for robbery with great bodily injury. In 2003, as a result of those convictions, he was sent to state prison for 20 years. We do not know how long he spent in state prison at this time, but we do know he was out and up in Upper Bidwell Park when he was arrested for a DUI in 2020. And with that, we'll...
So Highway 32 is the most logical place to make your stand, as it's right along this ridge top. It's already a bit of a natural fire break with the highway being in there itself. I think some of these houses on the left side of the highway may have already been involved, and we're watching out for slop over of the highway, of the fire, to the east side of Highway 32 this morning. Because once this fire blows up into a giant column like we saw yesterday, this column can spread the fire and ash clear across river canyons quite easily and spot fires a mile or so downrange from the current fire and continue the spread of the fire. Because right now it's primarily up to Mother Nature how this fire is going to behave today, and if you're in the area, I would get out of its way. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. We'll keep you posted.